Hello, my name is Susan, and I'm trying to keep the optics as unique as I possibly can for various reasons. The individuals that you see above me, those are the individuals I would think would be an interesting mix to have combined together for various talking points in reference to personal experiences that I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. So a quick breakdown. During this presidency, my physical body was destroyed. During this presidency, a lot came to light. And during this presidency, my family was destroyed. And once again, I wouldn't wish anything that I've been through on my worst enemy. And that's why I'm making this video. Today is September 11th, 2013. Never forget. What do you see before you when you look at me? What do you see politically, ethnic background, religious, sexual orientation, however, whatever? What do you see? I'm a Republican. I've been a registered Republican since the first time I could vote. Medically retired from the Army. I'm actually half Chinese and then half whatever crawled underneath the fence between German, Russian, Italian, Portuguese, Sioux, mutt. I'm a mutt. I'm also a bitch because, well, I was born in the year of the dog, and by veterinary standards, I'm a divinely deemed. Thank you very much. So, religion, as far as that's concerned, I was raised Presbyterian, but I've studied various forms of Judaism, Buddhism, Taoism, Confucianism, various forms of philosophy, and kind of like myself, I put it in a cup, turned the blender on, and it all got mixed up, and the various positive aspects that I believe in, I try to keep in my morals and ethical standards. I am not perfect. I am far from it, and I am not a special snowflake. I know that. I know that what I have gone through, sadly, other people have gone through and or are going through, and I hope some way we can find a resolution to stop it. So the discussion is going to be through my personal experience with these three presidents: former President Bill Clinton, former President George W. Bush, and current President Barack Obama. Both in the civilian world and in the military world. As I said, I'm medically retired from the Army. Bet you didn't see that, and I'm sure you didn't see a lot of the other aspects coming, so we're going to keep moving along because there's a lot of stuff that I got to go over. Never forget 9/11, right? Well, I joined the Army at the age of 17 during President Bill Clinton's administration. I joined because, well, when I grew up in New Jersey and the 90s bombing happened, I remember my over 300 member congregation and my school and my neighborhood being very much affected. And I wanted to know what I could do to be part of fixing and keeping people safe. I didn't feel entitled to anything. I felt that I needed to do what's best, not only for myself, but for those I care about. Pastor was a reserve officer, chaplain in the United States Army. The church was used as a hospital during the Revolutionary War. George Washington Shitter, I think, is still out back behind the church. I'm not sure. But it has a beautiful 76, 96 pipe organ, and on Palm Sunday they play Amazing Grace through bagpipes. Even with a headache and a migraine or whatever, bagpipes playing Amazing Grace for some reason will make my heart skip a beat. Almost as much as the Star-Spangled Banner. So, during this presidency, I fought my parents to join, actually. I was 17, as I said. I fought for several months for emancipation so I could finally join. Went to basic training, 0 week, physical tests, all that stuff, hold over, finally get going. And 9 days in, Palm Sunday, drill sergeants came around the barracks at the early morning hours to do a typical smoke session mindfuck. And, well, 17-year-old from New Jersey, the drill sergeants go around the bay, they get to my side, and then they get to me, and then up, private, down, private, up, private, down, private, up, down, pick cherries, etc. Make the ceiling sweat. And after quite a bit of time passed, drill sergeant gets in my face and says, "Private, why the hell won't you break? What the fuck is wrong with you? Da da da." Do I have permission to speak freely, drill sergeant? Now, remember, 17, from New Jersey. We have a special air about us, don't we? So when I'm told that I actually have permission to speak freely, I actually believe that I have permission to speak freely. And I did not. And I learned. So partially taking responsibility for my own actions, and yet at the same time, no reason for anyone to ever physically assault someone just over verbal words. When given permission to speak freely, as I thought, my response was not really typical, I'm sure. So basically, when I'm asked, it was, well, my parents have called me a bitch, a whore, a slut, and a cunt since I was in utero. I was told that I should have been another abortion or miscarriage since in utero. As far as mindfucks go, unless you're going to continue using the same babysitter that you caught raping me in your bed until the planned child comes along and is of age, because, well, that babysitter's far cheaper. What are you gonna do, drill sergeant? Well, he shook me, he yelled, and then he threw me, and I don't remember much else because, well, I was knocked into a coma and medevaced from one state to another without my parents being informed. So, as I was told when I called from my hospital room several weeks later, my father asked how basic was going, and I said, I don't know, because I don't know where I am. And so you can imagine what, granted, yes, first-generation Chinese, however, was not raised in a traditional Asian upbringing, as he was raised in Brooklyn, Harlem, and Queens, as well as Elizabethtown, Trenton, and Camden orphanages and foster care, because he came down with tuberculosis and his mother had passed away. So his response was not necessarily, "Oh, okay." No, it was, "What the fuck are you talking about?" And it went from there, although I honestly don't remember. I'm just going off of what I was told. Also, I was not actually ever told how long I was in my coma. It wasn't until 2013, when looking through medical records, that we kind of tried to piece it together, and we're guesstimating between 4 and 6 weeks. During his administration. Yeah, right there. Yeah. And apparently I was told there was a congressional investigation. However, I never testified, and anytime I asked many details during the time in medical hold, I was told to shut up and stop asking questions, Or I was told that I was malingering and I faked the subarachnoid hemorrhage in the frontal lobe of my brain. I faked the large amount of memory problems. I was faking my cognitive disorders. I was faking my headaches. I was faking my migraines, etc., etc., etc. Just like as I was explained when my parents came to the hospital and my temperature was at 104.7 for several days, documented. The military told my parents, shut up, stop asking questions, and then my father said, well, I was studying to be an RN, so I know that this is frying her brain, and you're saying this, and, well, she's malingering. How do you malinger former President Bill Clinton and administration? How do you malinger and fake a subarachnoid hemorrhage? How do you fake a coma? How do you fake memory problems? How do you fake cognitive disorders? How do you fake headaches and migraines? How do you fake knowing that the time that I was supposed to be a soldier, I watched those planes on the TV 13 years ago today. And how do you explain whether it's better to not have the names for the faces or not have the memory for the childhood friend, uncle, confidant? Some have told me if I could forget a bunch of stuff from childhood, I'd be grateful. And with the few memories that I do have as far as upbringing are concerned, I could say that, yeah, probably some of the memories that are gone are probably good to be gone. But there are also memories that I probably would cherish. So, during this presidency, told, shut up, stop asking questions, you're faking, blaming everything, essentially, except for taking responsibility. We're going to fast forward to former President George W. Bush. Now, while the man could not say nuclear, at least he would acknowledge a problem and try to figure out a way to rectify the problem. Maybe not perfectly, but at least make an attempt versus saying shut up or stop asking questions or not a smidgen of bullshit. During this time frame, I was legally married to someone who passed away while we were still legally married, even though we were technically separated. After my coma and head injury and time in medical hold, the individual that I met, I thought was the only individual I could actually trust, and I learned otherwise. So, there's a movie called Memento I've been asked about many times, and it took me a very long time to actually remember to watch it. And well before I ever saw this movie, I said, sticky notes frickin' move. It took me years to remember to write something down on a goddamn sticky note. And frickin' notebooks, when I'm out in the middle of doing something and lose my balance, or it feels like an ice pick is being jabbed into the back of my skull and coming out my, eyeball, that notebook's not there when I need it. My skin, on the other hand, sure goes a lot of places now, doesn't it? Kind of goes everywhere, actually. So it's a lot easier when vertigo issues, balance issues, headache, migraine, whatever, pain, random causing of confusion, to be distracted and find the shiny butterfly in my skin to help me focus and realign myself with situations going on. So, back to President Bush. I'm in the recovery stages, I guess, essentially. Going through various tests. I get put on TDRL. I'm medically retired within that time frame. The male that I married had explained that his favorite author was a guy named Niccolo Machiavelli, who wrote his favorite book, The Prince. It's better to be feared than loved, because love can turn into hate, and hate leads to revulsion. Our miniature schnauzers were named Nick, short for Niccolo, and Princess, the female version of the book he wrote, The Prince, which apparently was the Bible for two guys that I lost understanding or memories of from school. Went from college algebra with trigonometry and calculus to second grade math. That's just a small example of the intelligence problems, let alone those 3 years of Latin are gone. He died during the same day as the guy from The Dark Knight. 3 of the same medications during former President Bush's presidency. He was involved in the Iraq War. He was injured, came back, and what was war, the medical hold unit, was now changed into the Warrior Transition Unit. Now, because we were separated, I had given his family the rights, even though I was the executrix, to his remains. I gave his family the option of where to lay his remains because, well, he was the baby of the family. And since we were going through a separation, I didn't believe that I should take that right away from his mother and father, who his father was 4 tours Vietnam, exposed to Agent Orange, and had a bad blood transfusion in the 1980s. So I didn't think it would be right to make him and then his wife, Robert's mother, drive 6 hours to visit their son. So on my way from San Antonio to go up to the DFW area to sign for the body, I get a phone call in Waco from a sergeant, and the female asks me, "Are you going to be at the memorial service in 10 minutes?" And I said, "What are you talking about? The memorial service was set up for Monday after the funeral service so that way my children could be there. Today I have to be up in the DFW area to sign for the body." "Oh, well, the chaplain is about to go on vacation and we changed the memorial service to 10 minutes from now, so you're going to be here or not?" "What part of I have to be to sign for the body do you not understand?" So the memorial service was the first issue. Upon arrival, finding the Chief Warrant Officer 3 replacing the E7 for my legal husband E5's funeral was another set of red flags. Then the 2 different 2-star generals who showed up to posthumously award Robert the Bronze Star Medal for conduct becoming of a soldier. Another set of red flags. Returning to San Antonio, being interrogated that Monday, the day that was supposed to be the memorial service, by Criminal Investigation Division on post for 3.5 hours. Another set of red flags. And then, of course, being shown the slideshow of finding his body. Another set of red flags. So I decided to go up the chain of command. And while, yes, I am not going to say that the difference between these 2 presidents when asking questions were not different of shut up and go away or stop asking questions, here's the difference. I was told that there was a congressional investigation. I never got any results that I was ever aware of or shown or anything. However, during former President Bush's administration, upon contacting Congress and the White House, my children got that memorial service. Awareness was brought to the fact that it has not changed from medical hold to Warrior Transition Unit with the change of names. The poker games using pills as the chips, mixing barbiturates with alcohol, sexual assaults, every chain of command climb that I had to make. Well, I added another thing on that list because, as I said, I am not a special snowflake, and I know that. And I know that if I'm going through it, there's somebody else that's going through it. And maybe that person does not have a retired ID card that will allow them to get on post. Maybe that person just has the dependent ID card or doesn't have an ID card at all, but is looking for answers for their lost family members. So I did what I had to do, and I got up the chain of command, and I got my children that memorial service that they deserved. And please don't think at any point in time that I hate the military, I don't agree with the military, or I do not support the troops. That is absolutely incorrect 100%. Since my children were little, I've actually raised them to salute soldiers in uniform, salute law enforcement in uniform, salute fire department members in uniform, and salute EMS workers in uniform, and say thank you for serving my city, or thank you for serving my country and keeping me and my family safe. To show that they are not entitled to anything and that they should appreciate everything that they have. So while he could not bring my children's father back, didn't ask him to. Kinda can't. And in all honesty, with the tumultuous marriage that we had, if it wasn't for the fact that I wanted to respect his family, I would have put locks on that man's casket just to ensure. Now we get to current President Barack Obama. I'm rebuilding my life, trying to understand what I put myself through, what I accepted, what I believed, good, bad, and different lessons, etc. My children and I are happy we're not living in fear of their father breaking a window, punching something, ripping something apart, taking a chair and table, knocking me unconscious, telling me I have wifely duties because I'm still legally married. Getting over the females that came out of the woodworks who said, well, I dated him knowing you were pregnant or knowing you were married. Can I come to the funeral? Do you mind? I sure won't stop you. For some reason, none of them did. However, at least my husband, when he cheated on me, didn't pay for his pussy. Just gonna throw that out there. At least he didn't sink that low. That aside, so military experience and healthcare experience and public schools experience and immigration experience are all within this presidency, not just in the political talking points overall, but specifically within my experiences, because if this can happen to not only a veteran, but a survivor and dependents, what civilian within the United States of America is going to genuinely believe that this cannot happen to them? What makes you think you're a special snowflake? My daughter had emotional problems after losing her father. Through discrimination and bullying tactics of the school and the district, I had to listen to my daughter at 6 years old describe in detail how she would commit suicide. After the school did not do the proper paperwork to get her squared away for special needs education, they lost her on a field trip. And instead of giving you personal opinions on that one, I will direct you to Amazon.com. That one, I put all documents together, like actual documents of everything that transpired. And that would be in reference to my family and my daughter, the healthcare system, because when she was lost at the zoo, she had to go from acute care mental health to residential treatment. And the difference, Mr. Obama, in that would be, instead of seeing my daughter after a 45-minute drive, one way, for if I was lucky, 20 minutes. My choice was either to move to that RTC where I was only going to be allowed to see her during therapy sessions, and if the pass allowed. Since, however, because of the single-payer system, I lived too far away, but just close enough. Don't get me wrong, I had no problem making every therapy session, even if it was 2 or 3 in a week, where I would travel 4 hours one way just to see my daughter for, once again, a maximum of 20 minutes. Mr. Obama, do you know how much a child grows? How much a mother misses out in that time frame? Because I had and have TRICARE, which is a single-payer health care system. After the 3rd residential treatment, well, she was labeled high risk, and I was told she was dropped. Mr. Obama, do you know what it's like to have to call Child Protective Services yourself, on yourself, to try to find help for your child? Do you know what it's like to be told that you make $57 a year too much for assistance? However, if you didn't have insurance, or you didn't make the money that you did, or your daughter was an illegal immigrant, we could do anything to help you. I wouldn't even wish that on you, because it has ripped my soul straight from me. On Amazon, it's called Black Rainbow. And it only discusses the last aspect of what was my happiness. And what was my family. If what happened to me in Black Rainbow on Amazon can happen to someone who actually earned certain entitlements, I pose this question to everyone. What makes you think that you're truly safe with whatever you're getting. Because when a veteran, a survivor, dependent, when you're told that an illegal immigrant can get all these benefits, but you can't, what makes you think that you're a special snowflake? And President Obama, I just would like to know, what would you do to rectify those situations? I mean, in all honesty, with all of the fact, I mean, I've always believed actions speak louder than words. And by your actions, President Obama, I have gotten more action from my unplugged vibrator than you've given to, I don't know, say, everything. You claim to be a domestic president. Well, I've been a civilian during his presidency. My children, obviously, would be civilians. So, what have you done domestically? Or is it because we're veterans that we are discriminated against? Because, I mean, the school didn't even teach about 9/11 when they went to school. So, anything? Oh, that's right, you're just a picture. Oh, irony, I guess. So, I'd like to pose a few different points, and then I'll kind of let you go, I guess. As far as healthcare and immigration are concerned, yeah, not just a moat, please. Actually, forget your alligators, put some crocodiles in there, because alligators are pussies in comparison, because, well, the shredding of the flesh is far meaner in a crocodile. I know that's mean, but I prefer to keep our people squared away and safe. That, adding a bacon a day will keep the terrorist away, since we know that, they got their issues with bacon. And just as a real quick side note, to any terrorist watching, my question to you is, how many Americans do you believe do not ingest a pork product within, let's say, I don't know, a 48 to 72 hour period? Because by your own religion of you saying, pork is vile, blah, 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 and you will not go and get your 72 virgins, blah, blah, blah. How many people on 9/11 had bacon in their system? And so that would mean, by your own religious standards, your suicide bombers, well, they don't get shit. And I'm fucking glad. So, that aside, don't do stupid stuff. Take your own word of advice on that one. Closing talking points. Mr. Obama, these people were the ones that I voted for. Because even back then, they had more balls than you do now. I know what this mother is feeling, thinking that they'll get another chance to see their child, and then that opportunity is missed for bureaucratic reasons or whatever. Bring her son home from Mexico. Get him a balanced and fair trial. You're willing to do all this stuff for illegal immigrants, but you won't take care of your own? reference to this, speaking as a woman who has survived the back of a man's hand, speaking as a woman who was told that it didn't matter that I just spent over 4 days in labor to deliver our child, I still, because we were legally married, had wifely duties. Fuck you. Let me tell you what my then husband told me right after I woke up on the floor. The next time you open your mouth, you better have a cock in it, because that's the only good noise that your mouth will ever fucking make. Finally, to the woman who believes that she's entitled to be the first female president, beyond the fact of what occurred during your husband's administration, beyond the fact that you've called females who have been sexually assaulted or whatever dealings as whiny, beyond the fact that you laughed as you got a known sexual predator off. That's what matters. That's what the big deal is. The other big deal are these 4 gentlemen who died needlessly with a friend like you, Hillary Clinton. Who the hell needs enemies? Finally, this is the family that was destroyed. Black Rainbow on Amazon.com. And you will find the actual documents to explain everything that occurred. Keep your children, keep your family, keep your friends safe. Don't let this happen overall to anyone else. Silence is compliance. But I didn't know you needed a head injury to figure certain things out that should be fixed instead of solely talked about, whined about, complained about, and blamed. Right now, it is time to rectify problems. If that means make those fuckers glow, make them glow for centuries. As I said, I wouldn't wish this on anyone. What I deal with on a daily basis. Not the head injury, not the headaches, not the migraines, not the automatic discrimination because you see this and you see these, and yet you won't look beyond the cover of the book. My final point that I'd like to leave on is we should not be like the animal, the crab. When crabs are caught in a fisherman's net, and there's a group of them, if one crab starts to crawl out, instead of the other crabs learning and following that crab to figure their way out, to rise above, instead of following or learning or anything, they pull down and they bring them back down. And they keep them down. So that way they suffer with everyone else instead of the other crabs learning how to save themselves. I've given you personal experiences. Documents are available at Black Rainbow on Amazon.com. And now to introduce the political and news anchor pundits that I would have very much enjoyed having this conversation go on, to hopefully not just complain, not to blame, not to argue, but to find genuine solutions to fix actual problems with real change. So I appreciate Miss Joanne Noshunsky, Mr. Bob Beckel, Mr. Andy Levy, Mr. Greg Gutfeld, Mr. Juan Williams, Ms. Nancy Grace, Ms. Kimberly Guilfoyle, Ms. Dana Perino, Ms. Andrea Tontaros, Mr. Eric Bowling, Mr. John Stewart, Mr. Anderson Cooper, and once again, former President Bill Clinton, former President George W. Bush, and current President Barack Obama. Thank you, everyone. Good night.